Hello there, beautiful soul, and welcome to Art and Cocktails. I am Kat, artist, founder of Create Magazine, and certified master coach for creatives like you. And on this episode, I want to talk about something that comes up for every single one of us, and that is the fear that comes when we are about to do something epic. What I'm talking about is when we have an idea and we're actually ready to put it into action, put it out into the world, a lot of stuff can come up. Things like imposter syndrome, fear, future tripping, spirals. And sometimes if we listen to those things inside our brain, it's so easy to allow those thoughts to talk us out of going for it. So I want to talk about some strategies as well as some stories from my own life that have helped me overcome every time I leveled up, every time I changed my life. And I never regretted putting myself out there. So if you don't take anything else from this episode, I just want to encourage you. And even if no one signs up and no one buys from you, I promise you, it is worth putting yourself out there. It is worth going after your big dreams. And it is worth putting your ideas into the world, because the worst thing that can happen is that you get a new idea or a new sense of clarity and purpose if something doesn't work out. And if something does work out, well, guess what? If you don't put it out there, you'll never know and you'll never experience that win. So I will start by going all the way back in time when I was in college, and honestly, I was really struggling. I talk about this a lot, but my college days were riddled with just basically poverty. I had no money. I was working as many side jobs as I could as I was putting myself through art school. And one of the things that I did early on, I want to say it was my second year, is I made a website for myself. And I started putting my art out there and actually ended up selling things here and there to friends and teachers and people that I knew. And I remember being really excited and also really, really scared. And that taught me something, because when I started putting things out there, people were able to then find me. Now, I want to also say this wasn't groundbreaking. At the time, I must have been selling my work for $30 or less. For the bigger things, I think it was around $200. And at the time, that was a ton of money for me. And later on, as I graduated, I started applying to shows. I started to put myself out there. It was always scary and vulnerable to put myself out there. But nothing prepared me for the fear that I faced when I started my first platform, Create Magazine. Back in the day, it was called Fresh Paint. And I had so much fear that I didn't even put my name on the About page. I made it third person, so vague, so general, because I was so embarrassed that people would not take me seriously because I am not an expert. I'm not someone with a fancy degree from Harvard, or I'm not a curator at a famous museum. Who am I to start this magazine? Who am I to hit publish on these posts? Who am I to invite artists to be featured on my pages? So that was some of the dialogue that was going on. And honestly, when I first put it out there, the response was mixed. Some people were really excited, and some people were like, who is this? Is this a scam? The whole shebang. And later on, I realized that it wasn't about me and my credentials necessarily, even though it did help. I had some art background. But what it was about was what service, what value was I able to bring to my community, which I knew I desperately needed at the time. I knew that I needed a space to share my artwork, connect with potential collectors, foster that sense of community between fellow artists, and just feel like I'm part of the art world, because I was working at IHOP serving pancakes and I did not see any artists in my day-to-day life. And I really missed that element of art school. So even though I was afraid and even though I had no idea what I was doing, I thank myself every single day for publishing that website, for sharing it on my Facebook, for promoting it to the best of my ability before I even knew how. And my friend, you know what you want to do. And you, in the most simple, scrappy way, what you need to do to get it out there. Sure, when we first start out, or really any time, the results might not be millions of followers and millions of likes. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to build an audience. But do not sleep on the fact that you can start bringing in some extra income from your passion project. You can start connecting with people who are like-minded. You can support people who really need you today, whether it's through your beautiful art or a commission of some kind that you do for your clients and your collectors, Or if you're a business owner, the services that you provide, you have no idea the ability that you have to improve someone's life. And that brings me to the other pivotal moment when I decided to start a podcast. Art and Cocktails was born because I was inspired by, at the time, Danielle Chris, a Jealous Curator, was podcasting, and I was really listening to podcasts like Tim Ferriss's podcast, Marie Forleo, who else? Lewis Howes. So I was on a podcast kick, and then one day I was dropping off work at Brooklyn Air's gallery in Philadelphia, and there was a mosaic mural, and the mural said, "Use your voice." And I just remember seeing it because I was on the fence. I was so worried about showing up on the podcast. I was very shy. I did not feel like I was a good speaker. I had no idea if I was even going to land with my content. But I knew when I saw that sign that I had to bring it forth. And here we are, 336 episode at the time of recording this, connecting with amazing artists all over the world, entrepreneurs, writers, and providing free support and free information, as well as inspiring interviews with our community. I really can't take credit for that, but I am thankful to myself for not talking myself out of it and not listening to those voices. I remember someone making a comment to me, "Oh, you have this little mousy voice. I don't think anyone's going to listen to you." And I'm glad that I didn't take it to heart. Not going to lie, it definitely stings when people say stuff like that to us, especially as we're getting bolder and putting ourselves out there. It can be really intimidating and discouraging. But I'm so glad that I didn't listen to that and I just went for it, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I can't tell you how many clients I met through my podcast. I can't tell you how many new followers and community we've built through the podcast, both through the artists in our community sharing their tips and stories and me learning from them. So that is just a very basic example of how your idea can take the world and make it a little bit better. We don't have to move mountains, guys. We have to just do our part, do micro changes in the world, providing that extra platform, writing that inspiring book, starting that incredible blog that shares tips or recipes or encouragement or business tips. Whatever is your zone of genius, your expertise, the world needs it. And the best way to overcome this thought that, well, podcasting's dead. Everyone and their mom has a podcast. Who cares? Why should I even bother with that? Or blogging is dead. That's so early 2000s. Like, no one reads blogs anymore. Oh yeah? Then how comes Substack just got started, which is basically like a blog newsletter, and it's thriving. It's one of my favorite platforms right now, actually. Shout out to my Substack, shameless self-promotion. I've been loving just writing personal stuff on there. So if you're into just personal essays and blog posts and my daily sketches on occasion, check that out. I love the platform. So for years I've heard print is dead, painting's dead, podcasts are dead. In a few years someone will say video is dead. That is a lie. It's just a medium. Just like cooking can't be dead or go out of style because we use it to both nourish ourselves and express ourselves, the same way, whatever medium we use can be changed, transmuted, evolved, upgraded, because as you know, especially with technology, things change so fast. It's not about necessarily the tech or the platform or the social media. It's about how we're delivering our messages. So whenever you start to feel overwhelmed about like your output, what platform do you use? Go back to your message and what is the best way to deliver your message? It could be many different ways. I'm reading Gary Vee's new book, Day Trading Attention. Highly recommend. I'll link it under my favorite books as well so you can check it out. It's about really how to get attention online in an authentic and interesting way. So back to your importance, contribution to the world, your business, your product, your course, your online shop for your artwork, your own gallery, whatever it is that you're creating. I'm going to just walk you through some things that might come up as you start to put it out there. Number one, I do believe in being a little bit delulu. I do think having a healthy sense of belief and faith and even a little bit ridiculousness is healthy for creatives, because one, if we only worry about the stats and the facts of today, we never let ourselves go to a place of infinite possibility, which can potentially happen in the future. Now, I remember writing down my goals and dreams and saying, I want to travel the world with my art. When I was writing it, I was barely making $20,000 a year and no one knew who I was. I didn't even have local friends. And when I wrote those goals down, I was very delusional. I just want to say that. And later on, it happened, and I changed a lot. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. And it was no longer delusional. So just because it's delusional today doesn't mean that it's not going to happen down the line, months or years from now. So just keep that in mind. And the other thing is, it's living in that space of a little bit of delusion and also just having healthy expectations. My goal now when I launch programs is when I am about to post, millions of people are going to sign up, there's going to be a line out the door. Obviously, I am still an emerging creator. I'm still an emerging artist. I will not have 1 million people buying from me. Maybe. I'm not going to say never, but just logically, looking at the data, looking at my social media stats, looking at my newsletter open rate, it's just not happening. However, when I shift my focus from why even bother? No one's going to sign up. I'm here to offer something to someone who needs it. And if 1 or 2 people find it valuable and they help them in some way and it transforms their life, it's worth it for me because guess what? Those people are going to tell their friends and their clients and their community, and those people are going to tell their clients and their community, and that's how organic growth happens. So yes, dream big. Yes, expect massive reach and results, but also be in the space that as you're starting out and you're new, you might not be as visible and as quote unquote popular yet. You also are building something lasting. You are planting seeds and building relationships that will support you for years to come. Many of my first clients who started by buying a copy of Create Magazine or my book eventually became one-on-one clients and friends, or just people that I love talking with and connecting with. Maybe I had them on my podcast, or maybe they had me on their podcast. And it's worth it. It's not as glamorous as some of those headlines we see that overnight you can get 10,000 extra followers. You can get them incrementally over time, but just expect the universe to meet you where you are. Don't jump ahead. We always have to walk before we run and crawl before we walk. So it's not that you're not growing, and it's not that you can't have those incredible results, but just meet yourself and be excited for even that one person, that one interaction. Now, also, when it comes to launching your shop, your program, whatever it is that you're working on, your creative business, just know that you can start scrappy. A lot of my clients will feel so overwhelmed and they'll say oh, I can't possibly launch it. I don't have a designer. I don't know how to build a website. Do the best that you can with the resources you have now. Most website builders these days are DIY, drag and drop. In fact, I see no difference in revenue when I hire an expensive designer versus when I do it myself. Now, I do appreciate a good design, and I'm so grateful for my amazing designers that work for us, but I'm just saying, it's about the content, it's about your message and the results you can get your clients, or the art or the beauty that you're bringing into their world. And so don't talk yourself out of the things you don't have. Focus on what you have. Start really scrappy. Don't put a lot of time and energy and money into, let's say, a fancy sales page or tons of apps before you tested out your idea. Start small, maybe get a handful of people. Let's say you're teaching a workshop. Start by just offering it on Zoom. And then as you get beta students and beta clients, then you can upgrade. You can invest more into your design, presentation, technology, apps or software that you want to use. So all that to say is, I just want you to not hold yourself back. It's a disservice to the world. It's a disservice to yourself to sleep on your gifts, to not share them with the world. And one more thing I will say is that a lot of times when we want to do something different, so as an artist, I had a really hard time embracing my business self and even my coaching self. And that was because a lot of times in art school, they would say oh, don't be distracted. You got to be hyper-focused on your art. And to a degree, I think that's right. I think we should focus most of our time on the thing we want to be known for. So for you, it might be sculpting or painting or collaging. Me, it's painting and writing and being of service to my community. But I also think there is room to play, and there's no shame in learning to share your gifts with the world and supporting yourself through those gifts. So all that to say is that I believe in you. If you hear the fear, it's definitely a sign to go for it. If you can't stop thinking about an idea for an extended period of time, I think you should just go for it. Because here's what's going to happen. The fear is not going to go away if you don't launch it and you don't take action on it. It's always going to be there. You're always going to end up thinking about it. It's going to haunt you. And it's way better to test it out, to put it out there to see if anyone bites. And if they don't, that's okay. It's just feedback. You can see what didn't work. Maybe I didn't give myself enough time to promote it. Maybe I didn't share it enough. Maybe it wasn't clear enough. Maybe it didn't offer a clear result or a clear call to action for my clients. There's so many things to look at, and it's all just neutral feedback. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. It doesn't mean that you suck at this. And the other thing I will say is, let's say you took your idea and you put it out into the world and you're not into it anymore. That's okay too. That's also clarity. You shouldn't force yourself to push things just because they worked for someone else. Let's say it's an online course and you're just like, I hate online courses. Find something that you are willing to show up for, something you're willing to keep talking about, because as you know, an average person must hear a message that they're already interested in between 7 and 11 times based on research. So know that you're not being annoying when you're sharing your soul's calling, when you're sharing your art or your offers or your services with the world, and people will absolutely want to hear from you. And if they don't, they can leave. That's great. That's fine. It's a free world. I hope this was helpful, and I hope it gives you some courage to go after your idea. I know how scary it is to hit that publish button or to share your shop on Instagram. What if no one buys? I want you to reframe that and realize that if you don't share it and if you don't put it out there, it's 100% guaranteed that no one will buy. But if you put it out there, you're immediately in the game and you're allowing people to support you, to purchase from you, and to work with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's always a joy to give you some updates and shares and tips, and hopefully they are valuable to you. Let me know in the comments what else you want to hear from me. I'm an open book, as you know, and I'm here to talk all about things art, creative business, mindset, healing, and cocktails, of course, because we love a good cocktail. Thank you so much. And also check out my summer mastermind. It's a mini coaching program for 4 weeks. We're going to be going in depth and creating your empire. So if you're ready to, hit that publish button on your website or launch your coaching services or finally launch your online gallery or shop, this is for you. I'll walk you through, help you release the fear, give you some mentorship and practical tools. And I'm so excited to work with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!